Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Holy Ourselves, a podcast where we explore the intersection of faith, sexuality, and gender, and how to live out that in this crazy world that we are in. I am really excited to be back with amazing friends. As we jump into this, I like to go ahead and say on the front end of this that you can, along with the conversations we're having here, you can get even more on the Holy Ourselves Patreon and on the Substack where I post monthly. So there's so much more content, all of that's in the show notes. But for today, this is actually going to be the last interview episode of the year. And I'm joined by two friends, Adam and Sarah Claire Colling. Hi, guys.
Hi, Josh.
So good to be here.
So
This is so fun. And we're the last interview. We just found that out just now.
Ooh, well,
Yeah.
special.
So
We feel
thank you
special.
for that.
Mm-hmm.
I started doing a thing where it's like I would do a solo episode because that's like a new thing for me. I'm not used to it. And then I would do a few interviews and then I would do a solo episode kind of like unpacking or talking through those or doing something like that and then do more. So then after this, I'm going to do like one more solo episode. And then I'm actually just going to release for Christmas because, you know, it's crazy. I'm going to release some of my like sermons from Prov.
Oh, perfect.
Kind
So
of thing.
good.
Yeah. Or like talks I've
Oh my
done
gosh,
over the
amazing.
year.
Yeah.
So that way then it's like not more recording.
Yeah.
But still content.
Yes.
So, but we're here.
And guess who else is here? I think we should.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, we have a little.
There's someone else here, you guys. This is our baby is here. Our 3.5-month baby, Anna Claire Colling, is here with us, and she's eating right now out of my body, which is amazing miracle that happens. But she was like doing so well, and then we literally started to record, and she was like, I want to talk. So we're welcoming her as well, and thanks for having her. And we might pause and edit, and like it's all gonna be great.
It's all going to be great.
We welcome the babies.
100%. I love that she's on here because we're going to be talking about your podcast.
Yes.
And she makes appearances.
She does.
on
And
the
all of her
podcast.
different, oh, honeys. Oh, all of her different phases from being in the womb to being 1 month old. And now she's here. Wow. Okay.
Well, y'all, we already did our first adjustment.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now I'm standing. Now we
Now
have a
just
baby.
standing.
And all is well.
All is well.
Thanks for adapting for us, Josh.
It's the thing I love about this podcast. And anyone who follows me podcasting wise, we just like go with the flow.
Yeah,
We make it work. Why? You don't need like the whole professional thing. Okay.
That is changing in this industry, isn't it? People just want realness. They want
Authenticity.
just authenticity.
Yeah.
Yes.
I find that to be
Because
big.
that's
Like,
we're all doing that.
yeah.
So
like you
stop
want good
pretending.
audio, you want good video.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
My last podcast, that's what we always got criticism for because sometimes audio would be insane. But like authenticity with it, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, with this, we're talking about you guys and this new podcast that has already dropped, will be dropping at some point. You'll find it in the show notes, everyone. What can you tell us about yourselves and about this podcast, The U-Turn, and what inspired it?
Want to go, Sarah Claire?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, we are married people to each other, and we are both therapists in this life.
Therapists.
We're married
Just
therapists.
let that
and
sink in.
yeah, a lot of people ask us
For a
when they
second.
when I'm like, oh yeah, my husband's a therapist too. They're like, oh, how's that go?
Like, what's
it-
that like?
It could either go one of two ways. It's either really wonderful and helpful that we have like similar frameworks for life, or people assume maybe that we like overanalyze each other and we do therapy on each other, or we're like judging each other's mental health all the time or something like that. Which mostly I would say it's the first. Like it really has been a beautiful thing that we share this practice of being therapists, and we have similar training and framework, which helps. And we've also done the practices we invite other people to do. We have engaged in those in our own journey. So I feel like that is a little bit about us and who we are, and also about what has birthed this podcast, The U-Turn. Basically, it is deeply connected to the journey that we have walked through with ourselves and with each other in our relationship, and what we were guided through our own journey in therapy. and also our clinical training and just kind of our purview because we're therapists.
Yeah.
You want to add anything?
Yeah, the U-turn. Why U-turn? So
yeah, what does that mean, babe?
Looking at yourself. That was the first step in our relational journey. That really changed things for us, was to start to look at our own reactions to things, and to things that were upsetting us, maybe. Not just projecting or protecting. I think that's the slogan for the U-turn. Projecting onto someone else or protecting yourself from being hurt. So it's a lot of instead of that, right? Starting to take a look at, why am I so upset? It's not that you're wrong. We're not saying that, but just that curiosity step is huge. And we went down that therapeutic proverbial rabbit hole, didn't we?
We sure did.
Of really being introspective and learning how to do that in a healthier way, let's say, or in any way, just because we were skipping that step.
And it's funny because we were both therapists when we met and when we first started dating and when we were first engaged or whatever.
Very well educated
individuals with a lot of awareness, but
being a therapist doesn't mean you're perfect.
It does not mean that you practice it all the time.
Yeah.
So we really struggled in the beginning of our relationship in ways that could have landed us separating.
Yeah.
But because we were gifted these frameworks and these tools and this deepening of relationship with ourselves, it allowed us to deepen our relationship with each other. And we say a lot of times, like, if we hadn't gone to therapy at the time we did, we probably wouldn't be married. Or we would be, and it would still be really painful, but we're just really the pain, and there's just not a lot of pain in our marriage or like conflict right now. And that's just definitely because of these tools and frameworks that we want to share with the world, essentially.
I mean, I've been glad that I've gotten to have a little bit of like a producer.
Yes, 100% a producer role. Yeah.
And it's been great because I already have like multiple directees that I've been like, okay, there's a podcast coming out and I'm going to be sending it to you all when it comes out. Because I think what's so hard for people with like the U-turn experience is like what you were saying, Adam, is there's a feeling of, if I do that, I'm saying that what they're doing is fine.
Yep.
And it's all me.
Right.
But it's like, no, it's the curiosity of, before you even get there, both people have to kind of do this U-turn experience.
Yeah, that's the key to the whole thing. It's got to be both, as most people know.
Yeah.
You can't it's not always one person's fault. But I love working with couples now. It is an invitation to be curious about themselves, right? It's 95% of the time it's not my job to referee. Let's say 5%, maybe. Sometimes it gets a little ugly, a little insane, a little insane, a little childlike, or a lot childlike, right? Which we all can relate to. We all have been there, done that too, in our own ways,
100%.
Which is the point, right?
Yeah.
Let's be curious about why you're being childlike. Let's learn about that and maybe heal that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the U-turn practice, kind of a visual of it is imagining me sitting in therapy talking about Adam, right? So I'm in my own individual therapy and I'm just like, you won't believe what he did and what he said and this is what happened and la la la. And my therapist, in her great wisdom, kind of did this thing where she was like, we need to take the finger that you're pointing at him and we need to point it back to you to take that U-turn. And again, not to say that what's happening outside of you is not important. Like, there are things to be addressed there, but that's not how we're going to use this time and space right now, because you're the only one here.
Yeah.
Right. And so the locus of control is actually you. And the more you can learn to be curious about what's happening inside of you, care for that, calm that, bring love into that and compassion and self energy, then now we can move back out to Adam. But I was trying to point the finger and like, it's not me at all, which usually it's always both people in some way. Both people are bringing something into the dynamic, and until you can really understand that. So that's more of like a deeper understanding of the U-turn is really that. And it's not just used in relationship with like a intimate partner. It can be work relationships, family relationships, friends relationships, even just like when you get triggered by something in culture or politics or something like that. Everything. It's a really helpful slow it down, turn it
Yeah.
in. Let's see what's going on.
Well, and I love that because that's even like the big thing I talk about in this podcast is like when we're talking about sexuality, we're not just talking about relationships in which you're having sex. We're talking about how you engage with humans.
Yes.
Like that's sexuality.
Yes.
And so then even in the same way, these dynamics,
Yes.
like it's often very common that we're going to experience it with your most intimates, like, and your intimate relationships, but it applies across the board.
Yes.
So I know one of the pieces that you guys talk a lot about in this and also your work, knowing you, is parts work, you know, this kind of raising and stuff. So for those who, this comes from internal family systems. So for those who are new to it, how would you explain parts work and internal family systems in simple terms?
Go for it, Adam.
Okay, so to make it as simple as possible, let's try and do that. That's what I try to do always with information, for my own self, and so also I can explain it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give a very long explanation here because it's a very simple model. It really is not hard to understand. To put it in practice, though, that's another thing, right? Like understanding things, just like we were alluding to when we were well-read, researched, educated, relational therapists. But in terms of practice, that's different. That's a whole nother level, right? And then that's when everybody's stuff gets stirred up when they get in a relationship. I'll have a client individually, everything's going awesome. It's a very peaceful life, you know, everything's wonderful. Get into a relationship, it's also awesome at first, you know, and then all of a sudden you're a little triggered or something's going on inside or there's something you've noticed, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm alluding to so that's a part of you that is responding, right? This is a real world example, a part of you that is responding to this person's whatever. Okay. Lack of communication, too much communication, anxiety, depression, whatever, lack of ambition, whatever this might be, you know, the thing might be that is really starting to upset you. Again, it's not that you're wrong about being upset, but it's the invitation in internal family systems is that we have several different parts. We have this internal family within us that reacts to different things, and potentially those things that we react to, almost always you find they're rooted in some sort of fear or some sort of hurt in the past. So it's like this was when I was scared or when I was hurt, and my system remembers it forever without you knowing it. You know, we can get into that more later. Which is fascinating. It's then it becomes this threat detector, and then when you get a little too close to my threat area, my fear area, I'm going to react in a way that maybe I couldn't before when I was a kid, or maybe the way I did act when I was a kid, you know, and then you become childlike, you know, and that's when people get into fights, and then they have a lot of shame about the way they react, right? Yeah. Like, oh boy, I can't believe I said that, or threw that, or hit that, or whatever, you know, just surprising, you know, ways of reacting or shutting down completely, just going numb, right? So these are the fight, flight, freeze, fawn methods that a lot of us know about, you know, fawn being kind of a newer one if no one's heard of that one. It's clinging on to someone to help you feel safe, right? Yeah. Are you okay? So I'm okay. You know, are you all right?
Almost
okay,
like the
now I'm
anxious
okay.
attachment, which I know you guys talk about.
Anxious attachment, yeah. Which comes from somewhere, right? When you get to the roots of it, there's fear and hurt behind those origins.
Yes.
And that's why it develops an anxious attachment. Yeah. So what's that mean? That means it was programmed. That means you don't have to live like that. You actually don't have to have all this anxiety and fear. You can have a peaceful existence internally. You know, you can try and play it cool and behave your way yourself out, you know, and just pretend that you're fine. You can do that too. I've done that. It works for a little while until it doesn't, you know? Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't. You'll self-implode. That wears on you too. It's just like all the other methods aren't going to work. You know, it's you have to create internal peace, and you have to go to the origin of when that hurt happened. And then it's magic once you do it. It's pretty amazing how you start to show up differently. But in a example way, Sarah Claire, how's that? It's like relationships. Everyone understands, been there, done that. I hope who's listening to this, you know, have had times they've been triggered. I'm sure, Josh, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
yeah, and those are parts of you, right? And then it's that invitation in internal family systems to be curious. Now there's some therapeutic work that happens there, you know, of course, to get all the safety built and that curiosity built and understanding built, and then get to the origin of it all. But that's what it is on the surface. And even Schwartz, Richard Schwartz, who's the founder, creator, inventor, whatever, you know, of this he kind of learned from women, eating disorder women. He learned from them. It was the way they were speaking to themselves about these behaviors that they hated doing.
Okay.
You know, they didn't like, there's a lot of shame. So it was like this part of them that kind of took over. Yeah. So that was
oh my gosh. Yeah.
so interesting how he kind of started that and founded it. And he says, what's he say about exile work? He says a lot of clients over the years that he's worked with have been able to really heal themselves just by this identification of parts.
Yeah.
You know, that there are exiles though, like deep trauma, multiple traumas, that kind of thing that may be a therapist may be needed. But he said he's constantly shocked by just the connections people make and their woundedness and how that dramatically changes their behavior.
Yeah.
Dramatically. So it's pretty cool. You can really heal yourself on your own just by understanding this concept, right? Of just, let me be curious about why I'm acting that way. Where did that happen in my childhood?
It's the noticing.
It's the noticing.
Like, wow. Yeah.
It's a huge game-changing thing if you really start putting it into practice.
Yeah.
I had a client this week that I was giving her like the spiel, you know, the like, what is internal family systems and how can this help you? And I think it was almost like there was so much going on inside of her. She felt really chaotic, and it was, we call it like a parts party. It's like when there's just so many parts happening and they're all like yelling at you. And so you end up having this like stressful, chaotic internal experience. And I was like, so what we got to do is we begin to use the theory to slow things down, to name the different parts of you that are happening, and then bring the most important piece. Short says about internal family systems is bringing this thing that he identifies as self with a capital S, bringing this to the rest of the parts of you. And he says you can know you're experiencing self or that you're in that state by these 8 C words: calm, curious, compassionate, creative, connected, clear, compassionate,
contemplative.
Yeah. So like these C words kind of indicate and show you, oh, you're in a relaxed state. You're in a state of self. And for if we want to do a Christian interweave.
Yeah. I was actually thinking, I know we were going to talk about it later. Let's just go ahead and go there.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we're interweaving kind of spirituality or even Christian spirituality, we're saying that's kind of like when the Spirit is indwelling in you, when you're really connected to God's love, God's grace, God's peace, God's joy. And
I've often said that those C's are like the fruits of the Spirit.
They're the fruits of the Spirit. Exactly. And so when you're experiencing that, your body is relaxed. So now if we're thinking about like trauma and kind of nervous system work, polyvagal work, your body is not in your nervous system is not in a sympathetic response, which is the fight, flight, freeze, fawn stuff. It's in a parasympathetic response, which is rest, digest, relax, like I'm present, I'm open, I'm clear. And that is in all of us. Like all of us have that in our essence. We have that available in our bodies. And basically what level of trauma maybe and what level of safety you've had in your life will tell how much self you're able to access.
Yeah.
And so the beauty of this modality is saying there are these protector parts, like Adam was saying, protector parts that are trying to keep you safe, that they believe that they have an important role in keeping you safe. And then you have the exile, which is maybe the littlest part of you that's the most vulnerable and the most wounded and like probably started in childhood or some deep pain, kind of birthed this fear of like, I'm not good enough, or I'm alone, or I'm not worthy, or I have to be responsible for other people.
It could be chronic stuff too. We talk about big traumas, and then there's little traumas, you know, or just chronic neglect, chronic criticism, you know,
pressure,
chronic parent that's anxious or non-existent, whatever, you know, take your thing like that. You internalize that, those lack of need, you know, the needs you don't get. Emotional needs you don't get, you know, from all that. You start to internalize that, you know, which we'll get into. But.
And that creates kind of this exile we're talking about. And so now you have these 3 kind of different parts. You have the exile, which usually is like running the show underneath. Somehow it's like the underneath of the iceberg.
Without even knowing it,
without even knowing it. Like Adam was saying, it's kind of like unconscious learning that like built this thing.
It's crazy when you don't know it, and then when you realize it.
And then you realize you're like, oh, that's why I do that. Yes. And then you have the protector parts that are like the self-critic or the high achiever or the, be funny and avoid things, or like the addict part, or the people pleaser, or the whatever it is, codependent. That's the protector part that's trying to keep you safe and avoid pain. And then we have self that comes and is filled with God's presence and like love and spiritual. And then the practice is to be able to bring the exile to self, or self to the exile, to create this like healing, unburdening experience. So then now the protectors don't have to like run your life anymore. And there's like a new, and I think I shared it at Prov one time, this idea of like the kindergarten teacher that walks into a classroom with all these crazy toddlers, and like one of them swinging from the curtains, the other one's crying underneath the desk, the other one's like sitting perfectly, not trying to make any moves, the other one's like telling everyone else what to do. And then it's chaos when there's no leader. Like when there's no sturdy leadership in our lives, our internal world is chaotic. But once you can bring that sturdy leader, that like kindergarten teacher energy, that like Christ-like self, that like higher self into the room, now they're like, oh, somebody's here that can take care of us. We don't have to take care of everything. And that's really a beautiful way of like looking at this as well.
Yeah. It's so funny because I think sometimes for people who are getting initially exposed to it, especially from a Christian mindset, it can feel like, are you planting this onto a Christian perspective? But actually, when you really look at it, it plays out so easily. Like you have the way that Paul talks about the body, the one body, many parts. Literally, that is, I've like obviously talking about communally, but then the idea is like that also is happening internally here. When you were talking, Adam, I was thinking about where Paul says like, I do the things I don't want to do, and I don't do the things I want to do. That is the conflict. That is the conflict. Why am I doing the things? And even I think when you were talking about the parts, I've loved when, I don't know who I heard it from, maybe it was you, but was the idea of seeing even the prodigal son parable as parts work. Like you have the Father, the Holy Spirit, the Christ love centered part of us. And then you have the exile, the prodigal.
Well, you have at first he's the rebel.
He's the rebel.
He's like, I gotta go. I'm like, get me out. And then he like experiences what he experiences. Then he goes into exile almost when he's like broken and starts to believe I'm not even worthy to be in my Father's home. That's the exiled part of him. And then he, he goes back. He experiences what from the Father? Not shame, not kicking him out, not reprimanding. He experiences
compassion.
Led compassion and saying, you were always mine. I was never not with you. I love you. Come, let's have a party. You're home. And then we have the like older brother who is that kind of like critical, self, judgy, jealous kind of energy. And that's represents another part of us.
And I can imagine that could almost be a protector, because you could imagine the compensating part that's happening when the other brother's in exile. 100%. All these things.
It's a beautiful, But that the father character is in the parable is representing God. But as we translate that to IFS, self is also representing God. When we're in the presence of God, we exude those things.
I've talked with directees about, because I think I've run into multiple directees who have a hard time with the image of self kind of thing. And
because they're like, oh, it's selfish. Is that selfish? Is that me? Is like,
Are
I'm
you saying
the place
I am
of
God or something like this?
Oh, a lot of people get it's really hard for Christians specifically. Other people who don't have like the evangelical background, they're like, oh, this is so helpful.
One of the images that I found really helpful is where Paul, I think it's in Ephesians, Paul talks about how we are the ambassadors of God's love to other people. And so I've been like, what does it look? The self is the ambassador of God's love to ourself. Just as Paul talks about, you are the ambassador of God's love in the world. The self is the ambassador of that love, who understands the love of God for ourselves, made in the image of God, and therefore then can give it to ourselves when we can't receive that.
In the selfishness fear, I get that. I understand that fear. And we were just talking about this morning a little bit. Just my self-care felt selfish. That wasn't something that was programmed in me, let's say, or I wasn't aware of like how
or like
to
self-love. I think it was
Self-love,
self-care and just like
sure.
the
Yes.
self-love.
Yes.
Self-love was like that's a weird foreign thing. So I can see kind of how internal family systems concept of self would be a warning to a Christian that is dangerous, right?
Yeah.
That's not of God, and
Yeah.
you're not connecting the Holy Spirit. I will push back though, having done IFS so much,
Do it.
Push way back.
But but I mean, the only thing I'm pushing back against is the concept. The concept of this model is to be in this state of peace, right? So selfishness isn't going to exist with peace. If you think about that, like you're going to have anxiety, you're going to have anger, you're going to have these parts present for that kind of selfish-led motivation. Schwartz, who identifies as a Christian, so inventor, creator, founder, whatever, of this model, okay, he put a lot of just simple language to things that I think have existed for a long time, we figured out. But the language is so helpful, right? So we just keep using it. But he said he doesn't, the only thing he can attribute to the concept of self is a creator, is God, is the Holy Spirit within you. Yeah. Right. Other than that, he has no clue why self even exists or why it heals or helps. Right? Yeah. So that's also, just to say that alone, that's interesting. That's what we're talking about when it comes to self. Yeah. And that's why it represents the Holy Spirit in a self-led way, and that's when it opens up spiritually too. Of course, you get better at your relationships here in a human way, but also in a spiritual way. Yeah, when you ask parts to kind of turn down the volume a little bit, or go sit and watch me. I'm not. You can participate. We don't want to get rid of parts and shame them and shun them away. Right? That's not a thing. That's also the antithesis of a lot of behavioral modification therapy, right? We need to get rid of this behavior. Yeah. That's not what this is either. Yeah. Right? It's not what this is. It's welcoming that whole kindergarten classroom and getting them all to sit in a circle and, and love one another, and look to self as the adult. Yeah. Yeah. So, I just wanted to say that about the selfishness part. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, because I think it's really important to clarify in this when there's this fear of selfishness, which I it's just been so ingrained in us in evangelicalism and like Christianity, because when you get to the root of like, okay, what do you describe as selfishness? Right. And then you list that against like the C's of the curiosity, compassion, confident, all of these things, or the fruits of the Spirit, however you want to go about it. If you're in those things and then you also list out what is selfishness, you can't have them both together. Right. They're like, selfishness is automatically going to end up being a part or like a protector or something of this that's going on. So even if you just get down to the characteristics, it's like, well, that's naturally going to work against selfishness.
Yeah. Christian upbringing myself too, a lot of different churches, but that the ego danger, is a prevalent message, like you got to be careful about, having your ego involved in God's will, God's direction, or God's voice, or God's message to you, like it's not me, I must decrease, he must increase, that kind of message, which is it's if that's all you hear, right, and you don't hear, well, this is actually how you're supposed to speak to yourself. You're not supposed to yell and scream at yourself in your head. You're not supposed to say mean things to yourself, and or whatever, or feel so sad and lonely, and that loneliness that everyone in childhood experiences, right? Yeah. You don't come away from childhood without shame. I don't, I have people that sit down and say, I had a great childhood. Like, I'm sure you did. Yeah. But it wasn't perfect. I guarantee it. Yeah. I guarantee that there were needs that you wanted that you didn't get. Yeah. Welcome to adulthood. That's what we do in adulthood. We go back to those places,
Okay.
Yeah, I think the book that Schwartz wrote, that's not like the clinical book, that's kind of for everyone, is called No Bad Parts. And we were talking about this earlier too. It's like this idea of original goodness versus original depravity really is challenged in this modality. And that was something that was like very challenged in my faith walk too, because I grew up definitely with more of a framework like, you are trash. Yep. The only thing good about you is Jesus. Therefore, you have to have that and nothing else matters. So you are less, God is everything. Yeah. That's the model. God's out there, you're little.
It's like a Forky syndrome,
Forky? Oh,
Toy Story. He's like, just throw me away. Right? That's
Oh my God.
If you ever
Wow,
seen
that's
that,
deep.
yeah, just Toy Story 5, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. His identity is like, I am trash. I must go in the trash.
Must go back.
Wow.
And they have to teach him how
Oh my
to
gosh.
not.
We're going to have to
God.
watch
Remember?
that and
Yeah.
like use that.
Analyze that.
I need to see that again. That's amazing.
Yeah. That's a deeper level, right?
That's
That
deep.
I
Yeah.
didn't really think
Put a pin
about.
in that, Adam. Great job. That's crazy. But so the idea that none of our parts, our protector parts, the things that we've done to try to stay safe and avoid pain are bad.
No.
They're just trying to help us. So even take it Adam and Eve, right? We've been told that story as like, oh, these selfish, originally bad, depraved, sinful humans that God made. Look what they did. But like, they were curious as to what was going on outside of what they knew. And like, yes, they could have trusted but they didn't. And like, that's human, right? And then the whole story is like that we're redeemed from that.
Yeah.
And like, God is still with us. And like, cool. Thanks. If we read the whole thing, it's like, it ends well. But we tell that story with this like original badness, like we're just bad. So then we internalize that, then we grow up and we have these tendencies towards maybe avoiding pain or being anxious or hurting someone else or hiding or lying or, drinking too much or overspending or being, egotistical or whatever, judgmental, critical. And then we see, oh, I hate this about me. But if you get really curious and you slow it down, you're like, oh, these parts of you are just trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And they're little. They learn this young. So like, let's not think that they're bad. Let's actually decide that they're good and then bring them in, which is literally what Jesus like modeled.
Yeah.
And so I think it is so easily brought into that Christian framework. It's just, you have to.
The funny part is you have to separate yourself from the interpretations that you have been told and actually sit with it, because it's even like Romans 2. It is the kindness, tolerance, and patience of God that moves you.
Yes.
That repents you.
Yes.
It
moves you to like turn around.
To turn
and
around.
Go a different way. That's
it is
better
not
for
the
you.
judgment. It's not the wrath.
No,
it's not these
not.
things. So in this vein, I have a question from one of my patrons of when shame flares up, what helps you remember that every part was trying to love you in the best way it knew?
Yeah, that's good. I think that.
Take that one.
Do you want to go?
When shame flares up, read the second part again.
When shame flares up, what helps you remember that every part was trying to love you in the best way it knew? So like what you're talking about, how do I remember in that moment?
Yeah.
That
like how do I remember that there are no bad parts? Yes.
How do I remember that there's no bad parts?
So
Good question.
I had a client today that I sometimes I like to like get up and use my body in the room, and I'm like she's saying something about I just feel so embarrassed that I feel this way, or I feel so embarrassed that I've let myself go this far and like get this far away from my true self, and I can't believe I'm this people pleasing and I've lost myself and I'm just don't know who I am anymore. I'm so ashamed. And I said, okay. And I like went to the door and then I walked in. I pretended I was like a little girl, like, her little girl inside. And I was like, what if I walked in? What if your little girl walked in and said, hey, I've just been really afraid to lose my family's approval. I've just been really scared that people would like, if they really knew what I felt and thought, like they would discredit me and discard me and I'd be alone and disconnected. So that's why I've like tried to people please. And that's why I've like been a little codependent. And like, it's just because I was scared that they wouldn't love me anymore. And I was like, and how would you feel towards that little girl? And she was like, I would love her. And I was like, yeah, you wouldn't try to kick her out of the room, right? Because she's just trying to like keep you connected and get the approval and the attachment of like your caregivers. So it's like when I think the answer to the question, when I imagine my parts as little people, like not full blown adults, but like little kids trying to like figure it out in the like lower intelligence level that they have, like when a little kid lies, when you like ask a 10-year-old, like, did you do this? And they say no. I see that now, not as a kid who's like evil and bad and sinful. I see that as a kid who's afraid to disappoint their parent. Yeah. And so it's like, it starts to really change like the way you see the world, the way you see kids, the way you see yourself. But knowing, oh, this is just a little person inside that doesn't want to be, doesn't want to be, seen in a negative way or hurt or exposed and vulnerable in some way.
I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier about how Schwartz found that even just the identification of parts was helpful for people. Yes. And I think what you're saying is like, I've worked with directees where we're trying to do like the self-love kind of model of like, can you have compassion? And it's really hard for them. Like, I'll ask like queer people, because we've been so ingrained that you're just evil, you know, God's mad at you. And it's hard for them to get to the point of God. Can you believe God has compassion towards you? And ironically, one of the greatest things that has been most helpful is when they realize that talking to other people, they can say it for other people, but they can't say it for themselves. That's right. And so when you can imagine that part of you, like what you're saying, as literally another person that you're engaging with, it does allow you to make that shift, because we've been taught I can have that for other people, but to have that for myself.
Totally. But then what does Jesus say a lot? And it's in Leviticus, I think, a couple times, is like, love your neighbor as who? As you. Like, love your neighbor as you. Come on. Yeah. Like, it's so crazy. We didn't hear that as that. But if God wants us to love our neighbor well, that means he's actually asking us to love ourselves really well.
Yeah.
You know?
I think we just didn't, the people teaching us,
they didn't know
the
that.
History of humans. I mean, I think this is newer information to this generation, so it is kind of cool that we're doing. And hopefully there's more to come, and we're just babies in understanding some of this emotional stuff. But vulnerability, sympathy, and empathy. What are the differences?
Shame, even identifying what shame is and how it motivates things.
Just think about self-help sections 100 years ago versus now. I mean, it's
psychology, brain science,
So
all of
amazing.
this. Also, internal family systems is like so much neuroscience has been come out about it, and just how like your amygdala is so activated when you're in a part, but then once you bring self, it calms your nervous system down. It's just really, it's not just spiritual, it's not just psychology, it's not just scientific, it's like all of it. It's relational. It's just a beautiful modality that's honestly changed our lives,
Yeah, that question, I just wanted to say, I get asked that question a lot, and I asked that question myself when I first started doing IFS as a client. I did it for years. That's how I was introduced into the whole thing. I didn't even know what it was. I was a therapist too, so it goes to show you. I mean, it wasn't like popular, when I was doing it. It's starting to be. Starting to catch on a lot more.
Yeah, I think we referred all of our friends to IFS therapists. And now, literally, we like spread the word, and it's fun. So it's fun to be in community with people who understand this too, because
it becomes a language that you just talk and breathe and everything.
It does, and it's just important though in the beginning of understanding how to practice it when you're actually a client, right? Yeah. Your first job is not to judge or shame whatever's coming up for you.
Yeah.
Right. That's your first job. And so the question is kind of alluding to, I kind of judge and shame these parts of me that come. And so you're asking a question that is not what the model does. It does the opposite of that. And that's what you're both saying.
Yeah.
Is we don't judge or shame these parts. We welcome them in and get curious about them and love them. Because actually that's what makes them worse, and you want to make them reinforced, you judge and shame them.
Yeah.
That makes them stronger. It makes the monster grow.
Yeah.
Right? It will every time. It doesn't get better. You poke it,
my gosh.
and make it worse every time you judge it or shame it or ignore it. So anyway, I just wanted to say that piece. I love the question, but then I just flipped it back a little bit.
And it is funny how the deeper you get, because I even had an experience that where it was like getting with a part, there was like, it wasn't even me deciding to like not have compassion for the part. It was like almost my body dissociating from it. Like it's crazy how sometimes your body of that, like, okay, we're not going to judge, but it's like, no, my body is saying no. My body is going, we're not. and it's like, the weird part of you're like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Like if you're hitting that, and you're willing to work through it.
Oh man, so many times I wanted to not go to the therapist office, like driving the car, and I'm like, my body's driving the car, but I'm like, don't do it, don't go. Or like I'm in the therapist office, like, you could leave right now. You could just run out this door right now. Like it'd be fine.
Yeah,
it'd be fine. You'd make up for it. Send a text or something. It's fine.
So
like I'm making myself sit there. I totally get. Yes,
I'm just gonna be here.
Yep.
So like, obviously, I think moving into like the relational dynamic, because I think one of the things you talked about earlier was how so much of this comes up in relationship. Like the parts, you'll be going fine. Yeah. And then you like are in relationship with someone, and
right.
It's like
it's high stakes. It's very, it's dangerous. Like you could really hurt my feelings. So
because you're more vulnerable in intimate relationships than you are alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of another question from a patron on this level. when two people's parts start interacting, your anxious one, someone else's avoidant one, for example, how do you notice and repair? Like, what is that? I know that's a very big question, but like, what does that look like?
Let me say one step before
Okay,
that.
go.
And then we'll go to
else.
that. This happened to us, and I say this to people all the time now.
It's a very common dynamic, the example.
Yeah, it is.
So,
but if you're in some sort of relationship dynamic, whatever it is, of like partnership, a marriage, a friendship, a committed friendship, whatever, and you're getting triggered by this person or activated, whatever we want to call it. We use triggered a lot, but like if your nervous system is being activated and you're having some big emotional response, I didn't do this when this was happening to me and Adam, but I now see that as really exciting because there's something happening. There's healing inside of both of you that wants to happen. And our therapist told us, she was like, you're in a Mago match. And we were like, what does that mean? And she was like, that means that there's parts of you and parts of him that are unhealed, and that you were drawn together unconsciously to do this healing work. And if you both say yes to doing the healing work, you are going to emerge healthier, more whole, more loving, more compassionate, more connected to yourself and your partner. Most people don't get that speech in couples counseling maybe, and so they're just like fighting at each other and going back and forth. But when she told me that, it gave us like this hope, like there's purpose behind this pain. And if we can take the path, if we can go on the path here and allow ourselves to do this work, we might heal the things that clearly aren't healed, that I believe in both of us right now are healed. Like I feel more whole because of like the work we've done together and the hard like sessions and the hard seasons. But so if you're in an anxious and avoidant dance, let's say, or if you're in some sort of relationship and stuff's coming up and it feels really hard, like take yourself to a coach or a therapist or a spiritual coach or someone that can help you like identify something that's going on, so that then you can do the repair and you can do the noticing and stuff like that.
Because it doesn't really happen in that moment. You notice, you might like
notice like I feel pissed.
Yes.
Or I feel like I want to punch you, or I feel like I want to run away from you, or I feel like I want to jump out of the car, which is something I literally felt at one point. I'm just like, I think I'd rather be like on the side of the road than in this car with you.
Yeah, that's
like,
hijacked.
I literally felt that way with this man. You know what I mean? That's what's so crazy is like I can reflect on that and be like, wow, my exiles were so exposed and my protectors couldn't hold on to the wheel anymore. And I was just like bleeding out but I stayed in the car, and I stayed with him and we did the work to create safety with each other and with ourselves, through identifying, okay, clearly something's not okay right now.
Yeah.
And then bringing it to each other to share, the vulnerable things and like I say a lot of times, like I was introduced to Adam's exiles. Like our therapist helped me see him and the little boy inside of him and have compassion for him.
We got to meet them together.
And we got to meet them together.
I didn't know they existed either.
Yeah.
Until about then.
Yeah.
So
you're like,
we all discovered them
we're
together.
all meeting them at the same time.
Yeah. It's a vulnerable time.
It's really, but it's a season and it's not forever. Mm-hmm. And I think in relationships, if you're willing to go into the noticing, naming and healing repair part of the time, like it will be worth it if both people are willing.
And that's the hard part. Cause I think similarly, like when me and Christian like joined together, we realized we were coming in with a lot of hurt, a lot of pain.
Oh yeah.
So
and
much.
probably opposite types of pain. Yeah, because we talked about this a lot.
We've talked about
Christian
this.
and Adam have like maybe similar things, and you and I had similar things. We were like, oh, funny.
That's so funny.
That's like helpful.
Similar dynamics,
similar, which is just helpful because like, of course, you're going to be attracted to some sort of opposite, and that's a good thing as long as you have these tools.
Yeah. And it takes you guys being able to say, this is here. And as you said, we both have to say, yeah. And that's the tricky part because it's like, it can't just be you and it can't just be you.
Yep.
It has to be, are we both
willing?
Are we both willing?
And we've both been in relationships where the other person wasn't willing to do the dance with us. And we are no longer in those relationships. And one of us could have said, no, this is actually too much for me. I'm going to say you're still wrong and I'm right and leave. But we didn't. And like, thank God, because this has been the best thing. I just tell them all the time, like, you're the best choice I ever made.
Yeah.
And like, thanks for making this choice to be with me.
Yeah. tormentor.
Oh, yeah.
Schwartz refers to, he plays with that word. So it's, your partner and your whoever, let's say whoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is sister, brother,
Everyone.
friend, everybody, right? Doesn't matter. Mom, dad, of course, given they're going to trigger you. I haven't met anybody who don't get triggered by mom and dad ever. That doesn't happen. People do, right? In your families. But, so it's the curiosity of, why is this person tormenting me, right? But he uses this mentoring me.
Yeah.
So it's an opportunity to ask yourself, why are you getting so heated? What's going on behind that, right? And then caring for that part of you. Yes, it does take two, right?
Yeah.
Both people have to be willing to do that. And then you share that. It's not like you need to know and heal it and then you're better. No, you share those vulnerable feelings about why you're scared, So but I'm angry and they're wrong. Okay, sure. Why are you angry? Let's ask you that first. Well, I feel like whatever they do, it makes me feel like I don't matter. There's the hurt.
Yeah.
How long have you felt that, or when did you first feel that? And so there's this threat detector system that's looking for evidence of why you don't matter, and then rage comes out, right? So when we take the U-turn, we look back at ourselves, what's going on there, heal the hurt. That's the fuel to the anger. The anger's gone. Now you've changed your entire couple's dynamic and your heart health and well-being, brain health on it, right? You're feeling a lot better about you too. You don't feel the shame about acting out in anger, you have more peace. So that's what we're talking about, stuff like that. When both people in the relationship start to do that, I think that's the whole point in relationships. It's not just to get along or who's right, the competition thing. It's like we're here to heal one another, actually.
Yeah.
In a way. We're here to do life together, but we're actually also here to do
deeper,
that.
Yeah.
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 Which we both can do. Like, we're going to be healing for one another and being able to be safe just about my fears and my pain. And learning how to do that. Again, this generation, not very great at empathy. I'm not great at it all the time either. I had to learn how to do that, right? How do I openly sit with someone's feelings without judgment?
Yeah.
That's not something I grew up learning how to do.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to do that as an adult. That's hard to do, right? And
Yeah.
with yourself and with someone else.
And
It's
that's
hard.
the irony, I think, of the criticism, the fear of there being selfishness in this work. Because it's no, actually, to do this work, you have to be able to let go of the demand to be right.
Mm-hmm.
The
ego.
Competitive, the ego.
Mm-hmm.
You have to let it go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to do it in a way that's dignifying to you, not in the appeasing way, but being able to go, how do you hold on to the dignity of where I'm coming from, while also being able to hear the other person and the compassion and seeing the parts of them. And
It's very humbling.
It is. And in the training,
Yeah.
I remember being asked so many times ad nauseum. It was really driving me insane sometimes. After like 16 hours of it, 2 days straight, 8-hour days, you're being asked constantly what's coming up for you, or what are you noticing, or what you need to be parts aware at all times when you're with someone else, right? And you're really trying to empathize with their feelings and their emotions. And so you can remove your parts and your filters and be with this person in the most real way, empathetic way possible. Yeah. And I have this aura ring I wear, during sessions, and it drops down into this nice, restful, meditative state. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
That's nice to see, unless maybe I get a spike and I'm curious, but that's most of the time it's there, because it is being in that state to be open and when you're in a relationship, when you're both doing that, it's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing, how calm things are.
It really can
be. Yeah.
So then also on top of that, because I think I love what we've been talking about. It takes the two people saying we're gonna go here, and then I think another patron question, which I'm going to add a little bit of a piece onto this to go on another thing, because one of the other patron questions was what helps you stay present in relationships where you feel unseen or misunderstood. So obviously we're talking about there's sometimes where if two people are not willing to do this, there's going to just be sorry, this is not going to work. Obviously there's dynamics, maybe family or something like this, where it's so maybe in that kind of realm, when there is relationships where one person is not willing to do that work in the way. As much, what does it look like to stay present when you feel unseen, misunderstood in this kind of like piece in this
So
work?
good. So I'm going to talk about Jim Rohn and some other things like that. Don't forget where you're going to talk about or what you just thought. Okay. So I think the most important thing is, and I think the theory would say this, and Christians again have a really hard time with what I'm about to say, but like I believe that this is so true. I don't even know how to, I just believe it. The most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. And so what I mean by that is when you are being misunderstood or stonewalled or criticized or judged or whatever's happening on the outside of you from someone else, you have to be able to come back to yourself and regulate and like care for yourself, validate what's going on inside of you, get curious. And if you don't have that relationship solid, it's going to be really hard for you to be in other relationships. And so Jim Rohn is this speaker, business thought leader man who says this quote.
He's Tony Robbins' mentor.
Yeah.
He's dead, though. He's
not
alive anymore. Yeah.
R.I.P.
It was a while ago. That's okay.
He said things that Brene said later and like lots of other people have said later, but he said, you know, a lot of times relationships are like, you take care of me. Like you understand me, you see me, and I'll be good. But what he's saying is I am actually going to care for me, for you, and you get to care for yourself, for me. Because the more and this is like, we know this now, not because a book told us or a guy told us or Brene told us, but because we've lived it, the more I take care of myself and become the primary caretaker of my internal system, my body, my mind, my spirit, my soul, is when I'm staying really caring and loving towards me, I'm going to be such a better partner to him. I'm going to be such a better mom to this baby and to our son. Like, it transforms how I show up in the world. But if I am withholding from myself, if I am shaming myself, criticizing myself, neglecting myself, like living in avoidance of myself, I'm not going to show up really well to other people. So the answer to the question is, if you are feeling like the person you're in partnership with right now is unable to see you and understand you, and you're still willing, and you're still in that, because like there were times where we weren't seeing each other and understanding each other, but we were still committed. And they're probably going to be more in our future. But the moment that starts to happen, the go-to default has to be coming back to myself. And if you have a relationship with God, it's bringing that in. It's going on walks and like looking at the sky and taking a deep breath and like coming back to scripture or music or a mantra or something that grounds you back into this present moment without needing the other person to do it for you. And that's really hard because we're used to other people giving us the approval or the connection or the thing we need. But that building a relationship on how much someone else understands you when you don't understand you is going to fall. So the most important relationship is the one that you're cultivating with yourself, which is in essence the relationship you're, creating with God, whatever. It's the same thing in my book. But.
If people listen to Becoming Whole, where Sarah Claire and I were, we talked a lot about the connection between loving God and loving self, like it's knowing God and knowing self, and like they are interwoven. You can't disconnect them.
If you're in that type of relationship, I would say cultivate a relationship with yourself and like, no, because even when we were disconnected and like he would do this thing where we'd be in a fight and he would be the one to roll over and like not talk to me, and that would trigger me
Old shoulder.
Bad. Oh, but that was his avoidance, and then I would keep on like, no, you can't cut me out. Like, talk to me. We're gonna figure this out tonight, and that's definitely was our dynamic. And
that's
then
why I did the cold shoulder.
The day that I decided,
get pursued.
So
doesn't always work.
It did.
Doesn't always work.
It definitely triggered me though. But the day that I decided I'm actually not gonna keep pursuing him, I might roll
that's
over.
What didn't work.
I might roll over and go to sleep and like, Sarah Claire, you did a great job today. Just love you, girl. We're just gonna give this to God, and we're gonna go to sleep now.
Yeah.
You were like freaked out. I remember that day. You were like, "What? You're doing that?" And I was like, "Yeah, because I'm actually don't need you right now. I got me, and we'll talk about this tomorrow." And that was like revolutionary. And then I would start like putting on my little binaural beats in my earphones, and I would go in a corner, and he'd be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm taking care of myself, bro. Like, I can't get what I'm needing from you. So I'm going to go over here and like calm my nervous system down.
She calls me bro a lot when she's self-caring. Apparently.
I call you bro a lot, always.
Here, bro.
But anyway, it was that dynamic that I really had to learn to take care of
Yeah.
myself. So what do you have to offer about that?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Those are great. Another great examples.
I feel like I had so much to say. I had to get it out really fast.
So yeah, no, I love everything you said. It was great. I think like just add like the dynamic of couples typically is to just start to avoid the things that trigger them, so they just start to distract themselves from it or whatever. Just try to, I don't know, whatever your method is to try to ignore the behavior you don't like in the other person. That's typically how it goes, right? And then there's a blow up period or whatever at some point, and then you reassess, right? And you try to do better and whatever. But it's like there's this hidden competition happening, this tug of war happening. And just reflecting as you're talking, Sarah Claire, like the practice of speaking to yourself first when you feel upset, is such a game changer in itself. Just the simple fact that it's not externalized when you feel upset. It's more of an interest. I'm curious about this first, this disturbing feeling I feel first, right? And I want to find the origin of that or what that's really about first.
Yeah.
That's kind of self-talk does change. It is that introspection process. I don't know, spiritually, I'm very curious what you think, Josh, about that. How it's this inward kind of check-in process before reacting, that is there a spiritual connection
100%.
there?
I honestly think anytime we talk inward, it's spiritual.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you can't separate it. And similar to how we're talking about like the love of God and love of self and knowing ourselves and knowing God, like being made in the image of God, there's just naturally this like difficult parsing out, of these two things. That's, I don't think is meant to be parsed out. And so then when we can make that turn inward, I think kind of similar to what you guys were saying, one of the things I found, like when I'm engaging with people across really challenging dynamics where I'm like, this person is not hearing me, like doing that work of being able to turn inward and have the way of I can't come into this dynamic needing them to agree with me, to dignify me. I can't, if I'm doing that, I have to step away.
Yeah.
Because it's actually an abandonment of myself. Because it has to be coming in here going, hey, having the compassion for you of where you're coming from. But if you don't see me, that's okay, But like, and obviously I think it's different depending on the relationship. There's one thing where it's like your intimates. There's another thing where it's like society or like larger community.
Someone on the internet. Mm-hmm.
Someone on the internet. I deal with it. Yeah. Like it's like the really hard part. Like I can't engage with this. I have to, but then I think it takes the realm, like it takes that inward turn of reflecting inward so that not appeasing and not like looking for the affirmation.
Is that what humility is in a spiritual way or no? You know what I mean?
I define humility as, because I think we've badly defined humility as like the lessening of myself, seeing
that's
other
what I
people's more
learned
important
it to be. Right.
Yeah. I define humility as having the confidence of yourself as God's beloved. Because when you're confident that you are God's beloved, you can engage with other people understanding that same belovedness. Because I don't need to be seen as more important. I can care for you because I already know that I also am beloved. But also I think when we come from it from like other people are more important than me, we're actually not going to have humility.
Yeah, that belovedness is our soul and it's inside of us.
Yeah.
Right? Like we came from there.
Yeah.
And we're going to return to there.
Yeah.
And we can also access there through us.
Because it's there.
Through ourselves. Because it's there.
It's there.
As long as we ask the right question. Right? Or as long as we can, seek and find.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah. And that's
humility.
Is self.
I gotcha. That's
like
great.
In the, in the modality or in the theory, that state of being is coming from self. It's love. Like there is no fear or shame or, jealousy or less than in love. So it's like, that's really beautiful. It's just, it's the essence. It's your truest identity. It's your true self.
It is the you made in the image of God, core in this, that then is there. And like when you can, so last thing I was like, because then we're going to like go to some stuff to wrap it, because we could be here talking for hours and hours and
really
hours.
Though.
So like, even this has been something I've been processing for my sermon on Sunday, of that when we talk about formation, I believe when we are seen at our corest, darkest, scariest, most vulnerable part, if we allowed ourselves to be seen and met with compassion, whether by other people or ourselves or God, transformation is natural. And I know that sometimes in this kind of work, there can be a criticism of like, oh, well, then you have these people who just like the safety of the space and then they don't grow or whatever. I don't know if you've like, there's this kind of criticism.
Yeah.
I would argue if a person is in that situation where they like story or they like a group and they are there, but you're like, you're not growing. I would actually argue they're not allowing themselves to be fully seen and fully known. There's something they like
allowing the love in, because when the love comes in, you will be changed.
You will be changed, because that is Christianity. Is like it is the love of God that transforms you. So if you're in those kinds of spaces and you're maybe getting something out of it, but you're actually not being moved, there is still a part of your heart that you have not allowed to be seen and known and loved.
Yes. Oh, preach, brother. Yeah. That's so good.
That's my sermon.
That's amazing. I can't wait to hear it. Richard Rohr, our favorite Father Rohr,
Richard Rohr.
Father Richard, he talks about authentic transformation coming from true spiritual conversion, and like that you can believe all the right things. You can regurgitate the Bible all day. You can know everything about the New Testament, the Old Testament, the whatever.
All of it.
And you cannot have any authentic conversion and transformation in your life. But when you are in true relationship with love, in whatever form, even it can, I believe it can even come from other places that you're not even slapping the name Jesus on. Yep. I've had deep transformation come from my yoga practice. And a lot of people think that's like, ooh, no, it's not Christian. And I'm like, Christ shows up in my yoga, on my yoga mat. You know what I mean? Like Christ consciousness is like healing me in those moments. And I'll fight with whoever wants to fight about it, because it's true. And I told someone this the other day too. I was like, whenever there is true healing and transformation, Christ is there. You might not know it, but like that actual like cosmic Christ consciousness that is the presence of love in this realm, in this life, is there when it's happening.
Yeah, like nature does that for people.
Yes. Often. Yes. When you look at like
a
sunset.
To yoga. I just want to draw a parallel. Yeah. Like most people can connect to nature if you're not a yoga person.
Yeah. Because
like
the sad
sunrise or
the sad part is that when we talk about being formed, we're literally just talking about what I'm going to talk about.
Great.
Because this is my whole thing.
Workshop it.
When we talk about being formed in the image of Jesus, if we can't describe what that image is beyond the name of Jesus, then anytime someone uses the name of Jesus, we will be manipulated into things that are actually not Jesus, but are being stamped with it.
Good.
And on top of it, then if we always require the name of Jesus, we'll actually not understand. The verse that's been sitting with me is where Jesus says to the religious leaders and the pastors, the tax collectors and prostitutes will enter the kingdom of heaven before you.
Boom. Bro.
Like that's the literal quote of Jesus.
Man.
And what he's saying is these people are seeking the values of the kingdom of God, and they don't have your knowledge and they don't have your practices. And like where he then goes, he goes to the people and he says, hey, all the things that the Pharisees teach you, do it. Do all of them. But don't do what they do. Don't live how they live. Do what they say, because they're saying great things. Don't live how they live. Because how they live is not actually going to give you the kingdom of heaven.
It's because of that me first, right? Thing that Jesus was noticing and calling out, right?
Yeah.
Like that is the humility part. Back to that.
Yeah.
Back to our understanding of who we are, our souls inside, and just how that it's up to us to connect to it. And you're right. Like, just back to therapy for a second.
Yeah.
There's this old school, we're calling it old school. It is becoming more of an old school methods of, all these different theoretical methods of psychology trying to address a specific unwanted behavior, right? And it turns into a behavior that you need to do to correct that behavior.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whether it be a thought or a behavior, an action, right? And then that kind of reinforces shame too. It works sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time. And then you feel bad about yourself when you fail at doing that. And then maybe you get frustrated and the pattern's better, but it's more manageable, but it's not gone. This is kind of the example of like the opposite of what we're talking about.
Yep.
It's when you address the root of it all,
Mm-hmm.
and you get down to the love of it all,
Yep.
right? Everything else then becomes effortless.
It
just kind of vanishes. It becomes easy.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't have that angry reaction anymore. You don't have that sad reaction anymore.
Yep.
And it's just not there anymore.
Yep.
So it's like the love that you turn inward, it vanishes that's what I see in psychology. So it's like I'm doing that new school method all day.
Mm-hmm.
And for myself too. It's so much easier. It's not like you got to do much after you really get it.
Yeah.
Right?
I spent a year reading through the Sermon on the Mount, like not in bits and pieces because we always like pull out little pieces, but like reading the whole thing. It's crazy to read the whole thing because it's literally Jesus talking about the U-turn. It's literally because
wow.
Yeah,
the whole thing is
speck
like
in their eye and the log in your
in
own.
your own.
That is the U-turn.
Yep.
Yeah.
Whenever you hate your brother, murder, like adultery, like
neighbor.
looking at like all of
Right.
it is the U-turn of like, it's not the actions, it's the thing. And even the way Jesus ends it is about the houses and the house built on the rock and the house built on the sand.
Yep.
And it's all about the core of what's below it. Like y'all, listen.
Y'all. Seriously. What you were saying earlier was like wanting to dance about it because it's like you can use the name Jesus all day, but it's almost like we need to stop using the name of Jesus and we need to start being about what he was talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we slap it on there and then it becomes something I don't think he ever wanted it to be.
Jesus wouldn't want that slap.
No, he wouldn't want that label
that
slapped
slap
on
on
there.
there. No.
Because, I mean, a great example is the way that Christians treat queer people.
Yeah.
Like, it's so not okay. And it's so antithetical to the way that Jesus would treat a queer person.
Yep.
It's amazing that Christians today, I'm getting like,
Go ahead.
Here I am.
Sermon.
Woo! But I just feel like it's so fascinating how the people who are known for being so hateful towards queer people in our world today are Christians. And or at least in our country, that's sad.
Oh no, in the world.
In the world.
In the world.
Like, it's really not okay because if actual Jesus Christ was here in this place, where would he be?
Yeah.
What would he be doing?
Yes.
So it's just, we really have misinterpreted a whole bunch about Christianity in general. So,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Here it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we could be here talking forever
I know.
about this. And sadly,
We
that would
gotta
be
go
another
home.
one. We'll have
This
it on
baby
again.
has stayed
We'll do
asleep. Look at
next
this.
time.
Yeah.
Okay, wait 1 second.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to hear what you have to say
Okay,
about this.
go
This
ahead.
is a thought I had like a couple weeks ago, but I was just wondering because just Jesus, like who we've turned him into, maybe, and maybe who they wanted him to be when he came.
Yeah.
It was like kind of the same thing. Would you say that?
The
You know what I mean by
Jesus
that?
the Jesus that they wanted him to be.
They
and
want
the
him to
Jesus
be
we've turned
big
him
king
into.
thing.
Oh yeah,
Warrior
100%.
king thing.
Yeah,
That's so
y'all
interesting.
read Jesus and John Wayne.
Yeah.
I mean,
Gotcha.
it's literally
That's what she's
it
saying.
because it's like it's the whole thing of even just the image of
conqueror.
Jesus being a warrior, literally antithetical to everything that
total
Jesus
nonviolent
talked about.
Teacher.
And I think that what we see is that the thing I always try to tell directees, if you can't recognize that the Jesus you have in mind is not perfectly Jesus, you'll never actually learn who Jesus is. Because until you realize that the image of Jesus you have in your brain is wrong in some way, it's wrong.
It's always for all of us.
It will always be wrong because we're
we
always
were given weird images. And
because the process of sanctification and formation is getting to know Jesus, and
we will never actually understand because it's actually a mystery.
Yeah.
Right.
But like
That
we will
helps me.
learn more.
Yeah.
But then there's always going
But
to
we
be
never
more
arrive
and more.
with
Yeah.
certainty about
Yeah.
what this is and who this is.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that actually tries to lead us towards our ego being filled instead of our spirit being filled.
Yeah. And the thing I always say between agnosticism and mystery is mystery makes us curious to learn more, with the acceptance that there will always be more to learn. Agnosticism is like a releasing, and I'm not going to try. Because like Narnia, I love in the last battle where it's like they're in the new Narnia and they're always entering a newer Narnia and a newer Narnia and a newer Narnia, accepting that there's always going to be a newer Narnia, but that's the joy. You get to learn more.
I feel that way.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But the reality is in our world, we get into the Christianity of like, the Jesus I have is the perfect understanding of Jesus and all of these things. But until we can accept like who you see Jesus as is not perfectly Jesus, and therefore then you can't actually know who Jesus is. And that's what happened in Jesus's time. And that's what's really happening today. So as we close, because gosh, we could go on for so long, and I want to
Thank you for doing this with us. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So people, you're going to want to look up the U-Turn, Y-O-U Turn podcast, because we'll talk about it, but it'll be up by now.
Yeah.
So you'll go look it up. It'll also be in the show notes. But where can people learn more about your guys' work?
Well, we have a group therapy practice in West Palm Beach called
This is actually
Bungalow
Adam's
Counseling.
office.
That's where we are right now. And that's a really special space with lots of wonderful, compassionate, trauma-informed therapists. And then we also, our greater collective is called the Providencia Counseling Collective, that also you can learn about.
It's a nonprofit.
It's a nonprofit that raises money and awareness for people to get into counseling that maybe there are barriers like financial or stigma or just access. So that's something. And then Providencia, West Palm Beach, clearly is our spiritual home. And but bungalow_counseling is our Instagram for our counseling practice.
All of that will be in the show notes, everyone. If you're looking for a counselor in Florida.
Yeah, in Florida, we all do virtual.
Which Rachel, who was on a previous episode, is part of your guys's.
She's part. She's amazing.
Part
She's
of
a
the team.
really important part of our group. Yeah.
Cool.
Yay. Thanks so much for doing this, Josh.
Thanks, guys. We need to do it again because we could have gone for so long.
So great. Next time I'll be sitting down instead of swaying with my baby. But she slept through the whole thing.
I love it.
She's amazing.
This is so great. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Please listen and subscribe wherever you listen. And you know what? Give a review, on Apple Podcasts if you want to like write something nice, or wherever. Give us 5 stars. You can go to holyourselves.org for spiritual direction or cohorts. And then, as I said before, there's a monthly newsletter that I send out on Substack, where I do a reflection, as well as just often you'll get some of the first news that's happening in my practice and things. And then Patreon, you'll get monthly bonus episodes, as well as like quarterly bonus interviews and things. So check out there to support the work. And thanks y'all again. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.